fall TBR picked out. I'm going to go through what we have for each prompt. Hello besties, we are back with our fall TBR, and I'm gonna do it a little bit different this time. We did a really cute girls' night fall kickoff party where we made soup and biscuits and made little bucket lists and TBRs. We just kind of set the scene for some things we wanted to do this fall. So I have a couple of prompts. Actually, I have a lot of prompts. But first, I'm going to share my bucket list with you of things I want to do this fall. So here it is. And I just cut some things out of magazines to make it cute. So the first thing on my fall bucket list is to watch a sunrise. I'm not an early riser, so that can be challenging. Watch a sunrise, read outside, bake pumpkin bread, finish a needlepoint or a cross stitch, or really a crochet of any sort of craft, paint a canvas, go thrifting, journal more, take more photos, and watch a rom-com. So that's this little side over here. Those are all things that I want to do this fall. And then I have 9 to be read books that I really just want to get to at any point this fall. So the first one is The Perfect Couple. I'm actually reading that right now. That is by Ellen Hilderbrand. That's what the Netflix show is based on. I've heard a lot of people like the Netflix show. My mom loved the Netflix show, but I can't start it until I read it. So we have that book. The second book on kind of my overall fall TBR is The Lost Bookshop. And this one is, I believe, on Kindle Unlimited, but it's by Evie Woods, and basically, I'm going to pull up what the book is about. Okay, so The Lost Bookshop is about this bookstore in Dublin, and apparently the bookshop casts a spell on 3 unsuspecting strangers, and they discovered that their own lives are as extraordinary as some of the books in this bookstore. And there's supposedly a little bit of magical realism in it. So I'm excited to read that. That seems like fall cozy vibes, magic, spells, that kind of thing. So I want to read that. I want to finish the Harry Potter series. I've read the first one, but I have them all on my TBR. I want to read them ambitious, but I also want to read Throne of Glass, at least start it, because I feel like it is a fall winter series and I would love to start that series. And then I have Shattered into Oblivion. This is a book by an up-and-coming author on TikTok. I believe this is her debut novel. It is about Cassandra Gray. She is an assassin and she has a target with a mission, and it's to eliminate obviously this other character. She has to track him down and hunt him. I believe it's enemies to lovers, and maybe they fall in love. I don't really know much about this book. I was sent it by the author on TikTok, and I'm really excited to get to it. It seems like a very cozy book to read in the fall, and obviously I love supporting debut authors, so I'm excited to read that. And then I also have The Wedding People. I know really nothing about this book other than the fact that it was a Read with Jenna book pick, and I have it on Libby. I believe my hold expires in 2 days. I need to try to get that finished before it gets returned. So this book is centered around a wedding, obviously, The Wedding People, and I think it has an East Coast vibe, oysters, kind of Happy Place vibes of the location. Maybe some Nantucket vibe. Port Rhode Island. So it's set in Rhode Island. I believe this is character driven, a good bit of people connecting with each other. So I want to read that. I want to reread the Magnolia Park series. This is my favorite series of all times. And it's been a long time since I read the first one. It's been at least a couple years. So I want to reread that series, knowing how everything goes in the future books. I want to go back and read the first one again and just go back through that series. I love the characters. Another book I want to read this fall is called The Gardener's Plot. This is an arc that I have, and it's supposed to be kind of like cozy, suspenseful. I got it sent to me based on some other books that I read and enjoyed. And so it's about gardening. It's a suspense. Someone goes missing. So I'm excited to read that. I'm trying to read more books this fall that aren't necessarily like just because I see other people reading them. I want to read things that actually seem enjoyable to me. So that is my TBR over here of just specific books I want to read this fall. I have an autumn reading challenge that I'm participating in, and so I made a little board for it, again with like little cutouts from a magazine, and it's kind of like a bingo board, but I'm gonna fill it in as much as I can. So I don't have books picked out for all of these, but I'm gonna go through. I have 25 prompts, and it ends November 30th. So the first prompt is in the month of September, specifically themes of mental health. So I've defined a book that has themes of mental health that kind of like revolves around that, and I have kind of like a growing list of books that could work for these categories. I might like insert them in after I film, but that's the first theme. I did a little research, and one of the recommendations was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but this book is about basically this main character, Nora, is trying to figure out how to live her life, and so when she goes into this library, she is able to live life in like a different path. And so I'm sure this deals with like anxiety and, you know, like not feeling content in your own life. So I'm going to read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, if that is how you say it. This book has been recommended by a lot of people, so I'm excited to get this one. I'm excited to see, you know, how I like it. A lot of people said this was their favorite book that they've ever read, and then some people don't like it. So I'm excited to see what I think about it. And I think I kind of resonate with that, trying to have a certain life and feel a certain way and learning to be content in, you know, your current life and what you do have. So I'm hoping that I really like this book. The next one is Set in a Cabin or Woods. So obviously spooky vibes, I guess. Fall, and maybe not spooky, maybe it's a fall, cozy, cabin, those kinds of things. The book I'm going to be reading for the Cabin Woods prompt is actually a nonfiction. It's called The Devil at His Elbow, and this is based on the Alex Murdaugh. I'm not sure if it's Murdaugh or Murdaugh. I think it's Murdaugh. The Alex Murdaugh case, which happened in Charleston, South Carolina, where basically this man is a really like prominent lawyer, really prominent in the city. They have a huge like farm, 1,700 acre farmland, which to me is like kind of woodsy, kind of farmy. And he, one summer night, just eliminates his wife and son. And it's supposedly really like eerie. And so this book was actually written about that. And I think it's kind of like a commentary on what happened a little bit. So I'm excited to read that and just see. I mean, I say excited. I have mixed feelings because it's nonfiction. Like, it's something that actually happened. And a lot of people follow the trials of it. But I'm interested to see this author's take on it and what information they have to bring to the table. So, interesting pick for this prompt. The next prompt is Set in Autumn, which I feel like is going to be kind of easier to find a book for. Basically, I heard on a podcast that if anyone had like autumn characters, it would be this book, and that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I do know this book has a lot of like rom-com-y references, like When Harry Met Sally, like Bridget Jones' Diary, that kind of thing. And I've been wanting to read this one for a really long time. So hopefully this is set in autumn and this allows me to fulfill this prompt. But I'm really excited to read this one. Like I said, I've had it probably close to 2 years, and I'm excited to see what all the hype is about. So this one's going on TBR. And then the next one is based on a fairy or folk tale, a fairy tale or folk tale. That one could be interesting because I'm not super familiar with fairy tales and folk tales, so that'll be interesting. This book did have mixed reviews, but I love the author and I'm excited to read it, and that is Never by Jessa Hastings. This book is based on Peter Pan, and I never really grew up as a big Peter Pan fan, but I'm excited to read this because I've heard it's really magical, it's really beautiful writing, and I've had this since, I think I pre-ordered this, but I just never got to it. And I think it's pretty lengthy. I mean, it's like 350 pages. Maybe it just feels long. I don't know. But I'm excited to read this. The cover is beautiful. And I love Jessa Hastings. So hopefully this one's enjoyable, even though I don't really know much about Peter Pan. The next one contains disability representation, which I think is really cool. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Maybe A Little Life that I'm wanting to read could work there. A Little Life. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. Anya. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but if you have seen this book anywhere, you know it's going to be a tearjerker. It's going to be a heartbreaker. I am equally as terrified as I am anticipating to read this book. I don't know if I'm excited to read it. I do want to experience it. I've heard that it is so beautiful and traumatic. I don't know why I'm wanting to do this to myself, but it is very lengthy. But I do know that it has disability representation in it. It might not be in the best way. I'm not sure because I haven't read it, but I feel like this book doesn't require a lot of explanation. If you've seen it, you've heard all of the things. So this is going to be my disability book for the fall TBR. The next prompt is recommendation from a friend. So I'm going to have to text one of my friends and get that recommendation list going. So that's going to be fun. The next prompt is physical TBR, which some of my want to reads, like my TBR over here that I just went through, would suffice for this. So some of these books will overlap with these prompts. And then the next prompt is genre or trope you don't typically read. So I don't typically read historical fiction. I don't typically read dark romance. I don't typically read science fiction. What else do I not typically read? Book I am really nervous to read. This is the genre that you don't typically read. So that is going to be Flock by Kate Stewart. That love this book, and there are people that really do not love this book. I was gifted this book, so if I don't put it in a video, I'm afraid I will psych myself out about it for another 2 years and not read it. So this book is, I believe it's categorized as dark romance. I'm going into it kind of blind. I have no idea what it's about. The next prompt is forbidden love trope. So I'm going to have to look some of this up. I don't really have a bunch of these tropes. So this is trying to get me out of my comfort zone, out of what I just typically read. I think I want to read Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. I believe that is how you say her name. But if you don't know what this book is about, this main character has a fatal touch, and I believe anything she touches dies or disintegrates or something, and so it's dystopian. So hopefully I can get into this. I have a lot of other series to read, but I only have the first one of this, so maybe I'll just use this one as my forbidden love. The next book is a book published in your birth year, so I'm going to have to go look up just a whole list. I had to do some digging for this, but Kristen Hanna actually has a book called Home Again, and it is based around, I believe, a surgeon and her life. I do want to read some off of her backlist, so this will be a great opportunity to do that. Prompt is the main character has a cat. And I think I already have something for this. I'm not positive, but I just read a graphic novel called Crumble, and the main character does have a cat. So maybe I'll put that there. The next prompt is gothic fantasy or paranormal. I do have one book that I think could fit this. I had a friend give me a blind date with a book, and this was it, Midnight Bayou by Nora Roberts. Essentially, this is said to be paranormal romance, maybe? I believe it's got kind of like haunted house vibes and romance. I don't think it's romance with the paranormal. I believe it's romance with like paranormal stuff, like haunted housey in it. So interesting category, interesting pick. But this one has been on my TBR since Christmas, so I'm looking forward to see. It says that she is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, so surely there's something to it. And the next prompt, in September, October, or November, read the book club pick of the month. So the September book club pick is Daydream, and obviously I don't know what the other two. I'm probably not going to read Daydream, so I'm probably going to pick a different one for that. The next prompt is nonfiction or classic, and I don't think I have any problem reading nonfiction or classics. I think I'll be able to fill that one really easy. I actually am choosing the book of Esther out of the Bible. I'm going through a Bible study right now at our church, a 5-week Bible study for it. So I'm just going to use that as my nonfiction book because we're like really diving into it and going verse by verse. And I've never read the book of Esther. I've never studied it. So I'm excited to put that on my list for the fall. The next prompt is revolves around a game or a puzzle. So this could be interesting. I have the Inheritance games that I could read. A puzzle. You have to think on that. This says that the assassin's target utters a single clue with her final breath. And so I believe with this being like clue and kind of like mystery vibes, I believe I'm going to use this as my puzzle game category. Because if it's anything about like following clues, I loved Clue as a kid. That was one of my favorite board games. And so this is going to be that. I'm excited because the author is so sweet. You need to go follow her on TikTok if you're not already. But she's so precious. She sent this to me in a PR box with a cute little note, some little prints. And I believe I had this in another video. But I'm really excited to read this. In her dedication, the second to last dedication is to Diet Mountain Dew. I couldn't have written this without you. May the rivers in heaven flow dew. Thought that was hilarious. So I'm excited to read this one and support Madeline. She's just such a sweetheart. The next prompt is plants on the cover. So I have read a lot of the books I think that have plants on the cover. Maybe Magnolia Parks would fit here because it does have a tree on the front. And I'm gonna go with Magnolia Parks because of the tree. I want to reread this. These are the original covers, but this is the Orion Books copy. This isn't like the self-published copy. This one's a little bit bigger, but I haven't read this physical copy yet. The one I borrowed from the library. So I'm kind of going back and forth on if I want to annotate this. I probably won't because they're just so precious to me and I don't want to see my handwriting in it and hate it. I don't like looking at my own handwriting. So I'm going to do this one. I can't wait to get back in this universe. These are my favorite characters to ever exist, and yes, they exist. So I'm so excited to hop back into this world. It's just like a hug. Love Magnolia Parks. If you take anything from this video, it is to read this series. The next prompt is by an author you're thankful for. And I, just off of this list, I am so thankful for Jessa Hastings. So maybe I'll put Never by her on here. I haven't read it. I've had it for a while. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews, so I just haven't jumped into it yet. But maybe I'll try to fill that prompt with Never. I'm going to go with Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I really liked Just for the Summer by her. That was my first book by her. But it was so good. I gave it 5 stars, and I'm really thankful that I read her books. So I know a lot of people love her writing and support everything that she does. So I'm going to read that book this fall, and I'm sure I'm going to love it. The next prompt is horror or thriller. I have plenty of thrillers. I don't like horror. So I might fill that with a Harlan Coben book that I have, or maybe I'll pick up another Stephen King book. I really like his writing. My dad loves Harlan Coben books. We've watched the shows, my husband and I have read one of his books. So for this category, I'm going to do Runaway by Harlan Coben. This book, I believe, has a lot of triggers. If I do a reading wrap up, I'll report back on this. But this is about a man's daughter, and she has a lot of life issues with substance abuse and relationships, and she runs away. And so I believe the dad is like trying to find her and chase after her and rescue her, as any dad probably would in that situation. So it says, in order to protect your daughter from the evils of the world, you must face them head on. So with this being one of my dad's books, I just feel like if he really likes this author, I want to read more by him. So I'm going to add this one to the TBR for the fall. The next prompt is a book you discovered on your own. So maybe I'll fill that with The Gardener's Plot, because I have not heard anyone talk about that. Obviously, it's an arc, so that could be why. But I think I'm going to fill that slot with The Gardener's Plot. I really want to read it. I really liked some of the other books that the authors recommended. So there's like a little blurb on this one. And I was sent that book because of another book I like. So if that's a recommendation there, then maybe that'll work. The book I found on my own, I am going to do The Gardener's Plot just to see what that one's about. The next prompt is a book with witches. I don't really read a lot of witchy stuff, but I do have Harry Potter. So I think I will put a Harry Potter book in that category. I'm going to jump back into Harry Potter, book 2. I've only read the first book. I have watched all the movies, and this one is really short, so I'm going to try to make progress in this series. Hopefully I can finish the entire series by the end of the year, but we'll see. I'm at least going to get to the next one. The next prompt contains chronic illness representation, so kind of like the disability representation, I'll have to go do some research on those books. I think I'm going to reread The Fault in Our Stars. I loved this book in high school. It was so good, like Tumblr era, okay, Hazel Grace, This Is a Metaphor, all of the little like lines that I remember as a teenager. I really want to get back into that, and I want to read that one again and just see if it still hits. The next prompt is a Fall Rex video. So I have watched Destiny's Fall Rex video. I think that's the only one I've watched, so I'm gonna have to pull that up and see what book I want to put there. I think I'm gonna read Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I did get it on my Kindle, and so I'm really excited. I heard that it's really cozy, and with a name like that, you have to read it. It gives fall vibes. It gives pumpkin bread, it gives bakery, and I'm really excited to read it. The next prompt is Dark Academia. I don't think I even own any Dark Academia, so this is going to be interesting. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about Dark Academia, so I'm kind of nervous about this prompt. And the next prompt is going to be so easy. On your shelf for over a year. Most of the books that I have that I haven't read have been on my shelf for over a year, so easy peasy on that one. And then the last prompt is October, read a book with a pink cover for breast cancer awareness. And so I have plenty of books with pink covers, so I'm just gonna pick one of those and put it in that slot. For the pink cover in October, I think I'm gonna read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I was also gifted this book. Let's see if it's okay, the Rose Hill series. And with Wild Eyes just coming out, or it's coming out soon, I'm not really sure, but I think I want to do this one for my pink cover because it's literally all pink. And so that is my bingo board. I have until November 30th to complete it. And there's a few like bonus things on here. So we're doing this as a group. So some of the bonus options are like reading over 5,000 pages, 3 books in the same series, hitting 90% of your book reading goal from Goodreads. So that would be 68 books for me because my goal is 75 books. And then let's see, you get extra points for like doing the corners. So I'm really excited to fill this out and try to keep up with this in the fall, because I do monthly TBRs, but it's kind of hard for me to like stick to a month because I'm such a mood reader. But I think having 25 prompts over the course of 3 months will be much easier to like actually hit them than trying to just do like 10 in a month or something. So that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this has inspired you to try to find new ways to set your TBR, because I've never done this and I'm really excited to fill out my little bingo board and to do things that are on my TBR or on my bucket list. So I'm just trying to get excited for the fall. Let me know if you have any fun ways that you do your TBR or things that you've never seen anyone do on a fall bucket list. I would love to try new things to kind of get in the fall spirit. Let me know if you're reading any of these. If you have any suggestions for these different categories that might be a little bit better, leave a comment below and let me know. I'm excited to have so many books to read for the fall and a way to motivate myself. So I will definitely report back in at the end of November to see where we made it on our little reading challenge and maybe make a few reading vlogs along the way. So let me know if you liked this video. If you did, if you would subscribe to my channel and follow along. This is kind of the less aesthetic side of BookTube. I don't do this for a full-time living. This is just like a hobby of mine. And so I'm trying to, make content that people enjoy. So if you do, give me a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!